Chapter 7, Lesson 2 is on congruence, and more specifically on corresponding parts of congruent figures. So we have talked about what congruent figures mean. So there's some notation here at the top, and this says that triangle ABC is similar and congruent to triangle DEF. All right. So congruent angles. If this were our line of reflection, and we reflected one over the other, what parts would match up? That's what corresponding means. We talked about it previously when we talked about angle relationships, and we talked about corresponding angles being in the same position. Those two right there. Those would be corresponding angles, and therefore they are equal. So whenever we talk about these, which ones would match up? Well, A corresponds to D. So angle A similar and congruent to angle D. B would match up with E. Angle B similar and congruent to angle E. C then would match up with F. You can also do it by sides. So if we look at side AB, that would match up with side DE. So we'd write that notation there. Notice that there are tick marks on here. Tick marks, T-I-C-K. That's something for your notes. Tick marks will denote what sides match up with other sides. And one tick mark, and then two, the ones that have two match up, and three match up. Usually if they have one tick mark, that's going to be the smallest side. 3 tick marks, or the bigger number, 3 tick marks, that would be the biggest side. So therefore the 2 would be in the middle. Okay, so looking down at this one right here, like this is our line of reflection. They are congruent because you could flip it over and have a transformation of the exact same figure. So A would match up with D, just like what we've got right here. B and E, same kind of thing. Make sure you are making your symbol basically with an equal sign, and then you've got a little swoosh, or like our approximately equal to, our little curvy line. That's what we talk about there. Those are corresponding parts. Okay, so moving down here. Example. Whenever it says write congruence statements, that is what they're asking you to find. They are saying, okay, like if this is our, get my pen back here. If this is our, maybe, this is our line of reflection. Come on. Not that hard to get a pen up here. Come on. So that would flip over. Which ones would be corresponding? So angle I correspond to angle L. So this is a congruence statement. Everything that matches up together. H would match up with K. Make sure you are putting the angle symbols in front of them. J and G would match up. That is correspondence statements for angles. Also for the sides, if it is side J, K, make sure you are putting the segment symbol above it. Now, if JK is our side, put them in the same order. So GH correspond to GH. I'm not necessarily going to count it wrong if you put HG, but which ones match up with which? J matches up with G, K matches up with H. So make sure that you do put them in the same order. Okay? KL matches up with HI. Notice how I put KL and which point matches up with K. It would be HI. All right, make sure they're in the same order. LJ corresponds to IG. LJ, which one up here corresponds with L? That's the one I started with. It would be IG. All right? Okay. Moving on. I want you to try got it. So pause it and try it, please. All right, back with me. Which ones match up. Let's do angles first. So we've got angle A congruent to angle M, angle B congruent to angle N, that's a poor, pitiful angle mark there. Let's make it correctly. After that, we have angle K is in the same spot as angle O, corresponding angles. And then last one, we have angle S corresponding to angle P. All right, now let's talk about sides. And they made it easy for you because they put the tick marks in here. So really you just have to look at, okay, which one have one tick mark. So I could say that MP, now if I went top to bottom on this one, I need to do top to bottom on this one, congruent to, it's supposed to be curvy, congruent to AS, make sure you're putting the segment symbols above it. I could say that PO congruent to, now PO would be congruent to SK. I went outside to inside on both. Now I could do NO congruent to BK. And last one, I would do MN congruent to outside to inside, AB. Now, those are not necessarily hard, but they are kind of time consuming. So just don't try and rush through there. Make sure that you do have parts that correspond. Okay, so the only other part of this lesson, they talk about in example 2, they talk about triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ, write congruent statements, which we just did, comparing the corresponding parts. Then determine which transformations map ABC onto XYZ. So what would they have to do in order to get this blue triangle over here? So what transformations? So you are looking at a reflection. Oops, sorry. Let me try that one again. You are looking at a reflection. This would be its reflection. Then what? Then you would have to move it over and down. So what transformations would that be? That would be a reflection followed by a translation. And now they have it over the y-axis. So they have it flipped this way, which would come up here. Either way would work. You don't necessarily have to tell me reflect it over what and translate it how many. I just want to know, do you know and can you realize that that is a reflection? So this would be a reflection about a point. That would be our reflection line, and then we could translate it to the right and down. They suggest doing it over the y-axis, and that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they suggest not doing it over that, which I just erased the whole part there. That's all right. And then they just want you to translate it down into its spot 1, 2 units down. Okay, so that's what they talk about. Doesn't matter whichever way you want to do it, just realize that it's a reflection and a translation. But you also, not only do you have to write reflection and translation, you do have to write your congruence statements. So which ones correspond? X and A correspond, B and Y, C and Z, X, Z, AC, same corresponding statements as before. Okay. Sorry, congruence statements as before. So let's look at got it on this one. Pause it and try that, please. Okay, So congruent statements, I'm not going to go back through there. I think you can tell which ones correspond to which after you make your transformations. So let's talk about our transformations. What if I say that it's going to be a reflection, and let's do this as our reflecting line. So if it's 1 away here, it's going to be 1 away here. It goes up 2 and over 1, so this is going to go down 2 and over 1. This is 1, 2, 3 units long. And again, so this is our reflected image. Okay, this is reflecting this over this. So then you would have to, that would be a reflection, and then you would have to translate everything 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units to the left. Now, am I necessarily saying that you have to tell me that it's so many units? No, I just want, again, for you to tell me that it is a reflection and then a translation. Reflection and then a translation. Okay. Oh, and also don't forget to write your congruence statements. Again, that's not hard, but it may help you to do this. After you reflect it, write down what letters that would be. That way it's easy for you to say, okay, M corresponds to Y, N corresponds to Z. So you may want to wait and write your congruent statements after you reflect it. Maybe easier for you. Okay. Moving on, my little pets, moving on. Let's see what we got here. One last example. How you can use your knowledge to find missing parts. So it says Miley is using a brace to support a tabletop. In the figure, triangle ABC is similar and congruent to triangle DFG. If CEB is 50 degrees, so that's saying CEB, so this angle right here. Remember the one, whenever you name an angle, the one in the middle is its vertex. So CEB is 50 degrees. Because I know in the past people have said, okay, they say CEB, but which one do they actually mean? They're talking about the angle of the letter that's in the middle. So if that's 50, what's the measure of angle FGD? FGD. Well, you can see right there that if you were to reflect that, this angle corresponds to this angle. So if this is 50, then that is 50. That's what we got. Okay, I want you to try one. Try C. Pause it and try it using the same figure above. All right, if segment CE or side CE, this is 2 feet, maybe. This side right here, CE, is 2 feet. What is the length of side FG? Again, they're putting correspond. C corresponds to F, E corresponds to G. So CE is FG. If this is 2, then that has to be 2. 2 feet would be our answer. Okay, and with that, that is the lesson. So basically find out which parts correspond to which. Make sure you're writing your congruent statements. Make sure you are using proper symbols. That is our angle symbol on a segment such as CE that we just have. Make sure you're putting your segment symbol above it. And this is our similar and congruent symbol. So make sure you are using all of those. All right? Have any questions? Let me know. Good luck.